Hey everybody! I hope that you are having a wonderful Tuesday afternoon. I hope that you had an incredible weekend celebrating Independence Day if you're here in the States. It was a good weekend for us. We got outside, we did a lot of swimming and just hanging out with family, which was so good. So I hope that you had a restful time. It's important to take time for rest in your business, in your life, right? Because you need those times to refresh and rejuvenate. And I hope that that's something that happened for you this weekend. I have not been hanging out with you guys for like the past 2 weeks, so it feels so good to be back. My family spent some time. We did our big summer trip. I don't know if you guys have any trips planned for this summer, but we went and spent some time in Arizona and visiting some friends in Colorado and went hiking. So did a lot of fun things and just kind of enjoying summer. So today we are talking about getting unstuck in your business. So if you are at a place where you have been feeling stuck or frustrated or just all of the above, scared potentially for that next step, that next phase in your business, whether you're launching, expanding, raising prices, wherever you're at and you're feeling stuck in some way, that's what we're going to be talking about today. It's going to be a really great live stream. So, I just want to remind you guys that this is something that we do every single Tuesday is either myself or someone from the team. We hop in, we go live, and we just talk all things business, kind of where are you at this next phase. And so that's what we're going to be doing again today. This live stream always is in our VA Savvies community. If you're not part of that community, guys, we're about to hit 100,000 members, which is insane. I cannot believe this tiny group that started as just a hey, let's just have a group for VAs has grown to such enormous proportions. And then we also go live over on our YouTube channel. How many of you guys check out the YouTube channel on a regular basis? If you don't, you should, because we have tons of free info over there on how to start your business, how to grow your business, how to get clients, how to do discovery calls, all of the things. So you can check out just youtube.com/Abby Ashley. And so much free information over there. So let's dive in and let's start talking about how to get unstuck in your business. So raise of hands or just say me in the comments, right? How many of you guys have felt stuck in your business at one point, or maybe you're currently feeling stuck, right? Go ahead, let me know. I wanted to the reason I like to do that, the reason I like for us to say, yep, like, yep, me, right? Is because I want you to know that feeling stuck at something in your business is common, right? Like it's actually normal in so many different phases of business. It is like we get this feeling where we feel stuck. And I think that sometimes it can feel like, oh, I'm the only one that feels this way, or all these other people are just soaring past me and I'm the stuck one, right? But I want to emphasize that even if you are one of these people that like has a super fast-paced business and things are growing really quickly, every single person still has moments where they feel stuck, because that stuck feeling is usually that a pivot or a change or something, an action needs to be taken, right? And so it is totally normal for us to have multiple times in our business where we're going to have, oh, I'm feeling stuck. How do I get through this? How do I get through this? How do I get through this? And I will say the people who keep moving forward and who have success in their business are the ones who, it's not that they don't get stuck, it's that when they do have that stuck feeling, the transition goes to how do I move forward, right? How do I actually get through this feeling of being stuck? So if you're stuck or have been stuck, which I'm here seeing a lot of people in the comments saying me right now, currently feeling stuck. Yes. No, number one, you're not alone, because look at everybody else in the comments, right? Number two, know that this is actually a total normal part of business. And so it just takes a how do I get out of this? a good friend of mine once was talking me through a difficult situation, a time when I was feeling stuck. And stuck for me usually is paired with overwhelm, right? Like I'm like not only stuck, but I'm like overwhelmed by how stuck I am. And she just said, you know what? The best way to get through overwhelm is with a plan. And I don't know if you guys are planners. I'm a huge planner. And so just whenever I do have this like, oh, I'm overwhelmed and I'm so stuck, then I go through and I have a step-by-step plan of how to get through it. So, do you guys want me to take you through that step-by-step plan? Because that's what I was planning on doing today, is how I personally get through those feelings of being stuck and overwhelmed, right? So, the first thing is whenever you're feeling stuck, and this could be, like I feel financially stuck. I'm not sure how to get more clients. I feel like my current business model isn't scalable. I just feel like I don't have support, right? All of the things. When I am feeling stuck in one way, I believe that the first thing to do is to identify, um am I stuck because I have a knowledge gap? Like, am my brain stuck? Or do I have a courage gap, which is a heart stuck, right? Like, there's two kinds of stuck. And sometimes it's a combination of the both, right? Like, sometimes I feel insecure because I don't have the knowledge. So, yes, it can be a little bit of both. But I think really identifying primarily, am I stuck because I just physically don't like I just don't actually have the knowledge of getting to the next point, which hey, isn't a bad thing, right? Like I think that a lot of times it's like then we go to the next phase, which is like, because so I am therefore not a good business owner. I am therefore not smart enough to do it. No, 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 no. Those things aren't true. Like having a knowledge gap is a normal part of business. You don't just if you've never done this before, you don't know all the turns, right? You go on a hike for the first time ever. You don't know the turns. You don't know whether to go this way or that way. It's new scenery. I'm unsure about this. Like that's running a business. We haven't done this before. So there's no reason you should know all of the things, right? So it doesn't determine your worth or your how good of a business owner you are if you're feeling stuck. So am I brain stuck? Do I just actually have a physical knowledge gap, right? Or am I heart stuck? It's like, no, Abby, I know what I need to do. I'm just scared, right? Or I'm just fearful, or I'm just like unsure of myself, or right? Like, are you head stuck or are you heart stuck? I think that is the first one. So even that we can like go through this really practically if you guys want, right? And so identify like what is it? Sometimes we feel stuck, we don't actually even know what it is. So that sometimes is the very first, like the pre-step is knowing, okay, where am I actually feeling stuck? Okay, this is how I feel stuck. I'm not getting clients. Okay, so is it a brain stuck? Is it that, okay, I just physically don't know what I'm doing wrong, or I don't actually know what to do to go get clients? Or is it, oh, actually, I know what to do. I know the next step. I'm just scared to do it. Right. Or there's just something lacking in my heart to be able to get to that point. Right. So are you head stuck or are you heart stuck, or maybe a combination of both? Right. Got it. Fear is overwhelming for me. Yes, heart stuck. I get that 100%. I'm head stuck and heart stuck. Julie says, hey, and that's okay, right? Again, there's nothing wrong with feeling that way. It's identifying it is kind of the first step. All right. So then what do we do? Well, let me walk you through an example too, actually, before I jump on to the next part. So if I am, let's say I'm feeling financially stuck, right? Like I am financially, like I can make $1,000 a month with my current workload, but I need to know how to make $2,000 a month, right? Like that's the actual amount of money I personally need to be making for this all to be worth it, right? If you have that, then it becomes all right. If that is my actual problem, head stuck, heart stuck. I'm head stuck because I don't have enough hours and I don't physically know what to do next. Heart stuck is I know what I need to do. I know I need to come up with a higher end package. I know I need to, customize my packages, maybe let go of a few clients that aren't serving me well in order to elevate. I need to hire subcontractors, whatever it may be. I know what I need to do. I just physically don't feel like I can do it, right? Okay, I'm feeling a lot of both, so that's okay. Let's go on. So once you've identified it, here's where I'm stuck. Here's where I actually know is the problem. And there might be multiple ones, and that's okay. You go with the one's the most pressing, right? So let's say that we're brain stuck, okay? Or maybe we're both, but we're gonna attack the practical first. For me, if you're one of those people that you're like, hey, I know it's both. For me, it is easier to attack the practical first because again, the best way to fight overwhelm is with a plan. And so if I'm feeling like, hey, I, okay, again, the problem is I don't have any clients, right? I'm brain stuck. I don't physically know how to market my business. That's brain stuck. That's a knowledge gap. And I'm scared, right? I'm scared to go out and tell people about my business. For me, it's easier to attack the heart part of it. I'm scared of this if I have a practical plan. So for me, if you having both of these, personally, I feel a lot better attacking the practical part of it first, the brain stuck part of it, before moving on to the other. Okay, so let's talk through the brain stuck. If you're like, okay, I just actually have a knowledge gap, like here's my issue, here's where I'm stuck, and I don't know how to move on to the next point, what I will normally do is number one, you start seeking out the answers, right? So practically, I don't know how to get clients. Okay, well, let me seek voices who tell people how to get clients, right? And so, in that, I will say something that can be confusing is if you're following multiple voices, right? And so, when I'm saying voices, I'm talking about the business owner friends that you're talking to, the YouTube videos or the podcasts that you're listening to, right? The blogs that you're reading, the downloads, the courses, all the things. So if you're like, I'm feeling stuck, I don't know what to do. I've purchased 15 courses and I feel so much conflicting info. It's probably because you're consuming too many voices at once and you just need to pick one, stick to it, follow through, right? Let me just follow through the advice of like one or two people that I really trust in this journey, that have gone there before me, who have done this thing, and really just follow that path, right? So kind of streamlining our voices so we're not hearing a lot of conflicting information, right? The thing is that most things will work. Like if you're like, I'm going to go this way because they say to do this, or I'm going to go this way because they say to do this. If they've had success in that area, a lot of times it will work. What won't work is if you're trying to do this way and like trying to do multiple things all at once and like 20 different methods. No, like let's streamline in the way of getting clients. This person says do LinkedIn. This person says start a podcast. This person says do personal outreach or networking meetings, right? All those things could work, right? If you really, really put your 100% effort into them. But if you're putting 2% effort into all of them because you're trying to do 100 things, none of them are going to work, right? So streamlining our voices, streamlining our efforts. Okay, this is the thing I'm going to do. In that same vein, doing one step at a time. How many of you guys like are on step 1 but you're already overwhelmed with step 10? Right? You're like, okay, I know that right now I just need to choose my services, but I'm already like reading things on how to build a team and how to like you're worried about step 10 when you're only on step 1, right? And so you don't need to have step 10 figured out. And that is hard for those of us who are planners, those of us who are perfectionists are like, I want to know all of it. I want to have the whole journey completely mapped out before I even start step 1. And so sometimes if you have a brain gap, like if you have a knowledge gap, that sounds terrible if you have a brain gap, but if you have a knowledge gap and that's where you're stuck, really ask yourself, do I need to be concerning myself with this right now? Right? Like I'm so overwhelmed with like what happens when I get too many clients and how am I gonna when you're like, I haven't even told anyone about my business yet, right? So like, do you actually need the knowledge for that, or do you just need the knowledge for the very next step in front of you? So that's one of the reasons why we created like our virtual assistant checklist and starter kit, right? Let me put this on here. Our VA checklist. It's more than just like, hey, here's what you do. For me, it allows you to have a checklist on what to focus on. So you don't need to focus on the bottom of the checklist if you're just on step 1, right? Step 1 of my business is blank. And so that way it becomes just this can be my full attention just doing this. And once I check it off, I can move to the next thing. Because again, it can be really, really, really scary if you're just starting out in your business and you're like, oh, I'm overwhelmed with getting clients. Well, are you even at the step where you need to be overwhelmed with that, right? Like right now, you don't have to have enough courage to go market your business. Right now, do you have enough courage to decide on your services? Do you have enough courage to choose your rate? Do you have enough courage to choose how you're going to invoice clients, right? So just you can get enough courage for the thing that you have right now, which comes from having a step-by-step plan. Okay, so is this helping? Because we're talking a little bit about the hard stuff because I know they are deeply connected. But whenever you have a knowledge gap, it comes to let me just find that information by talking to people, by listening to the YouTube channels or the live streams like we're at here today, right? We actually have a training. This is actually probably a great place to come from. If you're newer in your business, if your knowledge gap is, hey, I don't know where to get started at all. I'm overwhelmed by all the information. This is going to be a really, really great course that we have coming up. It's a private webinar, but it's totally free. It's our summer crash course for VAs, right? And so it's everything from getting your business started. In fact, hold on, I can share my screen here just so you know what you're doing. So this is what we're talking about. It's our virtual assistant summer crash course. So we're going to be talking about how to make money consistently as a VA, share with you marketing tactics, what clients are actually looking for whenever you start marketing your services, how to find clients, where to find clients, and just talking about what that freedom life really looks like. So we're going to be getting into a lot of the nitty-gritty practical information on how to start a virtual assistant business in this training. So make sure you check that out. It's a great first place to start, right? If you're feeling overwhelmed. So link for that is right here. So you have the knowledge gap. Get the knowledge, right? And get it from just a few simplified voices. And one of the best places also to get that knowledge gap, because again, in my opinion, it's always from the people who have gone before you, right? Like they're 2 or 3 steps ahead of me, so I can just ask them, right? Like that's the best resource that you have is just to ask people who have already been there before you. So yes, these live streams, yes, our YouTube channel, yes, this webinar we have coming up, but also like our VA Savvies community. You guys, you have such a gold mine of information. So if you're having a knowledge gap and you're like, oh my gosh, I need to hire my first subcontractor, like what are the steps to do that? Literally, you have a whole group of like 100,000 people who are in this thing, many of them who have gone on to replace their careers, living the freedom life, right? And you just ask the group. Like, I love that. I love that so much. Like, I love our community and they're so helpful. If you guys found that too, like always so generous in giving information. And I love that. So, there we go. How do we feel about that, right? About the brain gap? Because I mean, like we could talk through like every single place where you might be feeling stuck. But the thing is that most of us actually either know the next step or we know where to find the next step. We really do. You guys are incredibly resourceful. So I would say more often than not, it's not that we have a knowledge gap, or if we have it, that's not as overwhelming. When we really dig into it, it's actually like a courage gap, right? Is it knowledge? Is it brain? Is it head? Or is it heart? And for a lot of us, it is that heart. And so I get it, right? Like starting a business is incredibly scary. There's so many what ifs, there's so many I don't know how to XYZ, and that makes me feel inadequate in these kinds of ways. But again, you're not the only one who has gone through this. We all have these fears when we're first getting started in our business. So one of the things that, in addition to knowing your why, which we talk about a lot, right? Why are you doing this? You guys have heard me say this before. I like to do what's called the truth fear chart, where I will literally just take a blank piece of paper and start writing down all of my fears. And so this is a journaling exercise. If you guys are not journalers, I highly encourage you. You don't need to do anything fancy. You don't need to buy the world's whatever best planner. If you found one that you love, that's great. A guided journal, that's fine. I like me, just a good old notebook. These are like 97 cents a piece. I am resourceful. So just like a literally a blank piece of paper where I can just get it out, right? So you might have to journal just to even figure out where you're even stuck. Some of you might, you're like, I have no idea if it's a head or a heart gap because I don't even know where I'm stuck. I just feel it, right? My body just feels it. My mind just feels it. But if you know what it is, you've identified it. Okay, especially if it's a heart gap, like I'm just scared in some way. I'm scared to tell people about my business, right? Write it down. Like, what are you actually scared about? And you can put it in the chat if you guys are willing to, right? Like, what am I actually scared is going to happen? Like, if I tell people about my business, I'm afraid that blank. Or if I raise my prices, I'm afraid that blank, right? So it's not just like I'm afraid to raise my prices. Well, are you afraid of that in and of itself, or are you afraid of what's going to happen when that happens? So, like, take it the next step. I challenge you, like, really dig in and say, I'm afraid that when I do this, this will happen. Okay. And that's what you're going to put on the fear side. Let me, fear. This is going to be messy. Okay, so fear versus truth. I don't know if it's backwards for you guys. So you're going to put that on the fear side. I'm afraid that when I do blank, this will happen. Put it in the chat if you want to. I'm afraid that when I raise my prices, all my clients will leave and I will have to go back to my 9 to 5. Oh, right? Like, that's a real fear. I get it. So put it out there. Have it be real, okay? Because it's put on paper, then you can actually identify it. Fear is so much scarier when it's back here, when it's just looming, right? When you haven't actually identified it and brought it to the light and brought it forward, then it's just back here scaring you. Everything's scarier when it's behind your back. You put it in front of your face, you're like, okay, I can handle that, right? So this is what it is. It's putting it right in front of your face. So this is what I'm actually scared of doing. Then once you've gotten it all out, you might need a bigger piece of paper. That's okay. Then once you've gotten it all out, then you draw a direct line. I'm scared of I will lose all of my clients if I raise my prices and I'll have to go back to a 9 to 5. Let's use that one. Okay. What is the truth, right? What is the truth? The truth is that I have an entrepreneurial drive. And even if the worst of the worst happened and all my clients left me and I had to go to a normal 9 to 5, I know myself and I will not quit there and I will keep working until I make this successful, right? Like, that would be my truth because I'm an entrepreneur and there ain't no way. Like, worst comes to worst, even if I had to go back to a 9 to 5, like, which that's so terrible. It's like that's the worst of the worst. But man, I really, really love working for myself. But like, even if that fear became a reality, like, then what would happen? Well, my entrepreneurial drive wouldn't go away. I would keep busting it, right? Whatever it may be. Like, I'm gonna go out on my own and an emergency will happen and I will drain through all my life savings and like to this really, but these are the things that really go in our heads, right? If we really were to like say, I'm afraid I won't get clients and then this will happen as a result, like, what is the real fear and what's the truth, right? And so for so many of us, it's like, well, okay, like I wouldn't be homeless, right? Like I would lose all my clients, lose all my income. Well, here's what I would do to figure it out. Sometimes I have to actually like walk myself through the worst case scenario so that it's not so scary, right? Again, you take it from here and you put it here. And the truth is, you guys, is that you are resourceful, that you have what it takes, that you have drive, that you have these things inside of you that that can get you to the next place, even if your fear were to happen. A lot of times the truth is like, that's ridiculous. That's really likely not even going to happen, right? Like, I think sometimes our fears, when we put them in front of us, we're like, oh, actually, that's maybe not even reality, Like, I'm afraid all my friends will hate me if I tell them about my business. I mean, really? Like, do you think all your friends are gonna hate you? Like, like, there's sometimes the things that we think are just like, okay, when I actually put into life, it's really not that scary. So, but some of them are that scary, and then that's why you match it with truth. Okay, so that would be number one. If you're having like a heart gap where it's like, here's where I'm stuck. And it's because I just don't have the courage to get to the next step. I would highly challenge you to do this like fear versus truth exercise and let us know when you do it. Like, this is the kind of stuff we love celebrating. Yes, we love celebrating when you guys are like, I got my new client, or I raised my prices or I quit my job. Like we love celebrating those things with you, but like I want to celebrate the emotional stuff too. Like I was freaking scared to tell people about my business and I went and I faced the fear and I did it scared. I did it anyways, right? Like we want to celebrate that stuff with you guys too. So make sure you're sharing it with us. I think another thing that I will do sometimes if I'm scared of taking an action, if I don't have the courage to do what I know is the next step, is I will walk through like what's the cost of not doing this? Like, yes, the cost of doing this is that I have to do something that's scary, right? Like, I remember a few years ago, there was something that I knew I needed to do in my business, and it was hard, and I didn't want to do it. And I was like, oh, like, I don't want to do this. And I remember praying and feeling so strongly that that God was basically telling me, like, Abby, if you want to do big things, you're gonna have to develop tough skin. I'm not a tough skin person. I'm not naturally a tough skin person at all. But it was just kind of this like, okay, it was like almost this like, are you ready to rise to the challenge? And I'm like, yes, I am, you know? So that for me is like, what's the cost of not doing this? Well, then I get to stay exactly where I'm at, doing exactly what I'm doing. And is the cost of that worth not doing the scary thing? For me, it's no. Like it's worth it to do the big scary thing of the potential of what could happen, right? And then lastly, it's kind of the same as before. Man, talk to people because just like if you had a knowledge gap, if you're like, I need clients, I don't know, I physically don't know where to get clients, it's a knowledge gap. And we say, talk to the community, talk to a friend who has done this before, right? Talk to, like, build a community around yourself. I would say the same thing would be the last step for a heart gap, too. Like, if you're like, I don't physically have the courage, well, we'll talk to someone who has walked through that scary step before, okay? Because they're able to give that emotional support as you're walking through and to let you know, I know it's scary, but look what's on the other side. And that can be so, 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 so helpful. So has this been helpful to you guys? Is this an exercise? Like I actually let me check the comments because I know you guys are always so good at sharing what you've got going on. Definitely stuck in getting myself started. I have a fire to do it, but figuring out where to start. Yeah. So you're like, I'm here. I got it, right? Like I'm gonna do this thing. What is this thing? Like what do I that, for me, that's like that's a brain gap. That's the knowledge of like, okay, so what do I actually do next? And so one step at a time, I would definitely recommend you sign up. It's happening just in like a what is it, like a week and a half, or 2 weeks. This live training that we've got going on because we're going to be taking step by step. Here's what you do to launch your business, right? So go to the places, listen to a few voices. Here's what I need to do next. Fear of not getting clients, right? So, like, then what? So, let's say you put yourself out there and you try this for 3 months and you don't get any clients, right? Like, what are you afraid of in that? Right? Like, take it to the next level. And that's where it gets real scary. Then we're like, well, then I would feel like this, or then this would have to happen, or that. That's where the real fear is, right? It's like the one level deeper, or maybe two levels deeper of just here. Because not getting clients in and of itself isn't super scary. It's I'm scared of not getting clients, and then this would happen. That's probably where your real fear is. Okay. Yep. Go and then she said going back to 9 to 5, right? But if you are like, man, I'm an entrepreneur, then if this doesn't work, which again, like uh, in my opinion, virtual assistants is one of the best businesses to start because you don't need all the things that other businesses need, right? But I have known people to start VA businesses and it didn't like work for them. When I say that like that because it's, their heart wasn't in it or they've just decided, oh, this isn't really actually what I want to do, but it led them to the thing that they did want to do, right? So like even sometimes in our failure is the path to what we actually should be doing in the long run. So if you're like, man, I really want to pursue this, even if it's scary, even if it quote unquote doesn't work, because I think it can work for anyone. Genuinely, I do. But if you're like, oh, I realize this isn't the path, that I want to be taking, if it's going to get you to the next place, then like it's worth it anyways, right? Um, Rejection is terrifying. Oh my gosh, I know that. I know it so much. We actually did an entire like series on rejection over on YouTube. You should go listen to it. It's mostly just mindset stuff, but it is really good stuff. So I would recommend doing that. Rejection is one of those things that it is an inevitable part of owning a business. And so that's one of the things of like, um, over time, you use that rejection to, like when a client says no, right? You use that to form, okay, is there an actual skill that I'm lacking here? Do I need to get better at discovery calls, right? Like people keep saying no. I've had somebody said I've had like a bunch of calls and nobody signed contracts. Okay, that's the reality, right? Like that's your starting point. So what needs to happen, right? Do you need to be pre-qualifying clients? Do you need to be doing more calls? Maybe you're gonna nail 1 out of every 10, so you just need to increase the number of calls that you're getting, right? Maybe you need to improve the actual process and you need a better streamlined way to do discovery calls. Maybe you need to be following up with clients because you're not actually following up right now. Like that's where you bring like the skill into it of, okay, yes, rejection is, even if you get every single discovery call perfect, I mean, it's like textbook, right? Not 100% of people are going to say no. So it is one of those things that I will say it does get easier over time, because over time you start to realize like my worth doesn't change if somebody says no to me, right? Like I know what I'm offering is good. If they're saying no, it's not the right time for them, right? Over time, you get that. It doesn't feel that way at first. At first, it feels really personal, and I get that. But over time, you start to realize, one, maybe I do need to improve this skill of discovery calls. Maybe I do need to improve my process for how I get clients. But once you feel really good about your process, there's still, even if a ton of people are saying yes, but then every once in a while you still get no's, then you start to get to this like, okay, it's just not the right time for you. I know I'm freaking good, right? Yes. So good. I'm taking courses in Savvy Vault. I need to complete Savvy System. Yeah, if you guys, some of you guys are our students, either in Savvy System or Savvy Vault. I will say if you're just getting started and you've joined both Savvy System versus Savvy Vault, the majority of your time, energy, and effort needs to be in Savvy System. Sometimes we can distract ourselves with like learning another new training, another new tech, instead of just doing the steps that we need to do to get clients. So reserve like a portion of time. Like I'm going to spend 1.5 hours a week on Savvy Vault, improving my tech skills. The rest of your time needs to be spent on Savvy System, working the steps on how to get clients, okay? Which is so hard for so many of us because we're like, I just want to keep learning. I just want to keep learning all the tech. When in reality, it's like, it's time to stop learning and it's time to start implementing, right? Time to actually get your feet on the ground and start doing this thing. You've got this. So good. All right, guys. I love hanging out with you. This has been such a fun time. And I hope that today does help you get unstuck in your business. Reach out, post in the community. If you are stuck with a knowledge gap, hey, I don't know how to raise my prices without losing clients. Help me practically know the steps to take. Reach out to the community. If you're having a heart gap, right? If you're like, I know the step I need to take, I just am freaking scared. That's okay. Do our exercise, right? Fear versus truth. Go through and actually identify what is it that I'm actually scared of. And then again, reach out to people because there is so much momentum when you bring other people along in the journey with you. All right. Don't forget, in 2 weeks, we do have our virtual assistant crash course. It's going to be phenomenal. Never before seen webinar training that we're going to be doing, talking about how to launch your own VA business from scratch, that practical step-by-step, what do I do? That's what we're going to be covering inside of this course. It's going to be awesome. Guys, thank you so much. It's so good to be back. It's so good to be hanging out with you again. And I will see you next week for another live stream. Bye.